All right, folks, welcome back. Ron Sheetz again. This is video number 3 in our education series. I'm joined again by my friend Ted Thomas, who has been doing tax liens, certificates, and tax deed property defaulted properties for over 30 years. In the first 2 videos, he's given us an awful lot of information. Anytime I ever think about tax certificates or property defaulted deeds, I think about Ted, because Ted is the guy who has taught this to people for over 30 years. I've learned it from him. If you're an investor and are looking for an extra source of income, an extra stream of income, and you haven't joined us in the first 2 videos, I encourage you to go and watch those, but you can pick it up right from here. So in order to do that, Ted, why don't you give everybody a quick review?
Okay, good. All right, folks, if you've never heard about this business, it's called tax lien certificates and tax deeds. It's available in every state in the United States. And the reason it is the legislature of each state has mandated that people that own property will pay property tax. It's really like a wealth tax. So what is it? It's about 1 or 2% of value. Okay, now if people don't pay the tax, then the county has a problem. So they have to do something about it. Now, there's 100 million properties in the United States, round numbers, and about 2 or 3% of them default some way. Now, when I say default, maybe people die, maybe they move away, maybe they forget they own the property. Believe it or not, people forget they own property because they own too many. All right, so the point is that tax is going to be due. So if they can't collect it, the local treasurer levies the tax, tries to collect the tax. If they can't collect it, the local treasurer will confiscate. That's what I'm saying is they take the property and they resell it at a public auction. Now, the treasurer doesn't want to try to make money because they just want to get rid of the property and get it back on the tax roll. They don't need any more property. So they'll sell the property with a starting bid of very close to the back taxes. Now, I already told you, taxes are 1 or 2%. If you could buy for 1 or 2%, that would be a good deal. All right, so they're going to sell these properties for 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar. Okay, that doesn't mean it's not worth 100,000 or 200,000. They just want to get it sold. So that happens in half the states. Other half of the states sell tax liens. Now, if you buy a tax lien, you're paying someone else's tax. All right. Those tax liens in Florida pay 18%. Arizona pays 16%. Illinois pays 36%. Iowa pays 24%. You're getting the idea. So those are a revenue producer right away. So you can buy either one. You can choose whichever you want. When I started back in the days when I had black hair and I was skinny, well, I had to travel, but now you can do all of this online.
So the people that are on with us are busy people. Most of them, I would say probably 95% of the people that are joining us on this video are entrepreneurs. They run one business, if not multiple businesses. So it sounds great with the opportunities for the income on this, but when it comes due, do the counties in that, do they automatically just send you your money with the interest when they come due, or is it something that you've got to follow up with them?
Okay, well, for the entrepreneurs, this is just another side hustle in all of this. Now, the beauty of this business is, now I'll get to the answer. The beauty of the business is you always know when the auction is going to be going to take place, because they'll say we're going to have an auction on the first day of April. And so you always know, so you got plenty of time to get ready for the auction, just do it in a part-time basis. All right, now if you buy a tax lien certificate, okay, you'll buy it at the auction. You can buy it online or offline. You will actually pay your money to the government. All right, then there's no other work to do. You take your certificate, put it down in your desk, and then sit on your rusty dusty. There's nothing else to do. You just wait. All you do is wait. All right, when if they don't pay, well, then the county's going to say, all right, do you want the property? If you don't want the property, you don't have to take it. But if you want the property, which you will, if you only paid 1 or 2%, then they'll deed the property to you. So I don't think that's a complicated process. Might take a couple of hours. So that's not some difficult thing. Now, all right, so that's tax liens. Now, tax defaulted property, that's a different story. What you're going to do then is you're going to buy it at an auction. You raise your hand. Let's say you get it for 25 cents on the dollar. They're then going to give you a deed. So if the property is worth 100 or 200,000, you bought it for 25 cents on the dollar. All right, they're going to give you a deed. That property is now yours. So you do anything you want with it. So the day I bought it, what I would do is I would go there and secure it, make sure the windows were secure and the door was secured and whatever. And then I'd decide what I'm going to do with it. Do I want to clean it up and sell it? Do I want to hire someone to come in and paint and clean? What do I want to do? then it's just traditional real estate where you buy it and then you resell it. You will have to do some work. It's not going to sell by itself. So you'll have to use media. And now with so much media, the average person, especially if they're following our course materials, if you're following what I tell you to do, you could have this property for sale in 10 different media within 30 minutes. Now, what do I mean by that? You could have it on Craigslist, you could have it on Zillow, you could have it on Trulia, you could have it on multiple listing service. You're getting the idea. You could have signs in front of it. You can do all that in a couple hours. So media that we have today, if you have a property that's worth 100,000 and you bought it for 25, hey, put it on the market for 65. You're way under the market. You know the bargain hunter is going to find you with all that media. So once you know and understand media, so what you're doing is you're dealing with margin. You bought it at a low margin. That's what attracted me. And then I can see I can sell it. I can sell all the way up to the regular market. I don't do that. I buy it low, 25 cents on the dollar. Then I sell it for 65 cents on the dollar. Oh, that's going to attract a lot of people. So are you going to have to work? Tax lien certificates, you're not going to do anything. I mean, it's really almost nothing. And that's why older people like it. They don't want to do it. Some of this entrepreneur, oh, you're just going to call a broker and say, who's a handyman that can go over there and do this for me? That's what you're going to. You don't have to go there and do it. I would never want any of my people to go fix up property. That I don't visualize you with paint in your hair, broken fingernails. I don't see your wife with plaster all over her, any of that stuff.
Yeah. And unless I'm not seeing something right, now is really a great time to do this, because with the value and the increase in property values, is there's people still defaulting on the tax. And now, I mean, I know even in my own neighborhood in Florida there, where my wife and I own a home, the values in the houses have doubled and tripled just in the last 2 years. And now that I think about it, if there's other homes, even just the development that I'm in, that I go and I find out if they're defaulted on that, to be able to buy those and then turn around and sell, they're guaranteed to sell, because I know that there's a pricing war going on for real estate right now. So unless I'm seeing something wrong, this is an amazing opportunity.
This business does not go, if you looked at a graph on the stock market over the years, you see a graph going like this, those peaks and valleys, and that's what scares people, because they're afraid they bought it here and it's going to go there. That's what they're afraid of. This business doesn't do that. There's going to be between 2 and 3 million tax defaulted properties every year. Nothing to do with the market. Nothing to do with the market. Because some people that live in Florida in the hot summer, they go to Michigan, they buy that property on the lake, and then they either forget they own it, believe it or not, they forget they own it, or they don't get the tax bill sent to Florida. Guess what? If you don't get your tax bill and pay it, all right, there's people in Michigan, they come to Florida, they buy a house, and then they forget to pay the taxes. So you get people dying, people forget to pay taxes, people that get divorced, there's all kinds of stuff, but people don't pay for them. So 2 or 3% of the properties are coming up every year. We're working with a very small margin, but if you think about the whole United States and 3,000 plus counties, it's abundance.
Wow. So what's the fastest state? I don't know if fastest is the right word. What's the fastest state to get access to for the properties? I mean, if you're giving me advice, you're a teacher, and you're saying, Ron, this is what you should do. This is where you should go. What do you recommend?
Well, if starting from scratch, it'd be really easy to work in Texas, because when you buy in Texas, you raise your hand and you buy, they actually give you the deed to the property right there. It's called a redeemable deed, because the person that's losing the property, they give that person 180 days to come in and pay you what you paid plus 25 cents, 25%. So in Texas, you can own a property in 180 days.
Wow.
That's pretty fast.
That's fast. What are some of the other states, some of the other best states, if you will, in order to buy tax deeds?
Well, none of them take a long time. If you go to, let's say, I'll get a brochure so I can show you from a brochure. All right, so I'm just going to get a brochure from, okay, this is Sullivan County. It says Sullivan County on the front of it. Okay, Sullivan County is 1 hour and 15 minutes from New York City. All right. Now in Sullivan County, at the last auction, 245 properties are available. Okay. They show you the actual picture of the property. All of them are in here. You get any one of those you want to buy. All right. When they sell you that property, you own it. You can do it that day. So that property is already owned by the state. So they have already confiscated it. So you can own a property in 24 hours.
Wow. Wow. I mean, to do this, am I going to need a broker or an attorney in order to do these things?
You just need your warm body to show up. And if you've gone to our class, you'll have enough knowledge to be able to, you'll have it on the market within the first week. Okay. We buy them, then we quickly sell them. We don't want to hold on to them. We buy them and we don't fix them. We clean them up and get them back into the marketplace. Wow. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to tax your experience and your vast knowledge in this. Just a hypothetical question. If you had $50,000 to invest, would you be buying a bunch of small tax lien certificates, or would you buy a couple of big ones?
Okay. Well, first of all, if you ask me what I'm going to do, I'm going to this year, I'll invest at least a couple $100,000 at least, because I like to buy, I don't want to buy a lot, but I'll do both for you now to answer the question. I'm always looking for a property like one of these. So in upstate New York and in Pennsylvania, places like that, they have these big colonial houses. Now, colonial house, well, you'd have them there in Cleveland too. Colonial house be 2 stories and 3,000 square feet, and sometimes they even have the circular driveway. All right. So I'm buying those houses in New York, sometimes with 50-foot oak trees around them, 4 or 5 acres of land, and they'll have a $400,000 to $800,000 value. And I try to get those for 30 to 40 cents on the dollar. All right. Now, I tell my clients, I'll give you an example. So I got a couple in Michigan, and I'll show you a picture of them. They live, not Michigan, they live in Wisconsin. So you can't do this in Wisconsin. Forget about that. So they go to Michigan and they bought a property for $8,000. Now, it's not a colonial, but it's $8,000. They put another $4,000, maybe $6,000 cleaning it up. And they sold it during the Christmas holidays, and they made $37,000. So they got their money back, the $12,000 they invested, and another $37,000. Wow. All right. So I would recommend doing a lot of those properties. So a place like Michigan, they'll have 67 auctions next year. Some auctions, they'll sell property for $100. Wow. They will announce right in the middle of the auction, if these properties aren't sold today, come back in 42 days, and we're going to start a bid $100. Wow. True. I mean, wow. I'm not making it up.
Yeah.
This is real stuff.
Yeah. And in your class, you teach us what to look for, what we should be looking for.
I not only teach you, I have the people who do it, teach you and do it on video.
Wow.
And that's why we have the class, so that you can see it just isn't Ted Thomas. You're going to see multiple coaches that work for me, and you'll see multiple people that do this for me. Let me give you another example. So Deborah Murphy does not live in the United States. She lives in British Columbia. Now, for you guys that don't know Canada, British Columbia is the big province on the Pacific coast. Yeah. And she had plenty of money. She didn't need money. She had money. She's a 40-year-old woman. She got plenty of money. She hired investment advisors. She hired brokers. She hired attorneys. She hired financial planners. She said, all I want to do, I've got enough money. I just want to make 5% a year. She did that for 20 years in a row. She never in the 20 years had anybody make her 5%. As a matter of fact, a few people lost 5%. So when she heard about this, she said, can you teach me how to do this online? I said, well, of course I can. So I taught her how to do it online. She never left home. Now, you're going to see a video of her in a minute. She never left home. And she bought within 60 miles of my home here in Florida. She bought on the ocean. She bought in a residential mobile home park. Now people said, I'm not going to buy a mobile home park. It was exclusive, professionally run, people waiting in line to get in there, right on the ocean. She bought the property for $25,000. I said, sell it, because she could quickly sell it for $50,000. She said, no, I'm not selling it. She rented it. She got a 40% annualized return, 40% annualized return on that property. Finally, she sold it in the 3rd year, and she bought it for $25,000. She sold it for $70,000.
My name's Deb Murphy, and I'm here in Kelowna, British Columbia. I had purchased my first property. I bought it for $24,000. It'll sell for $70,000. I'll probably list it around 75, 76, and it'll sell. I did it all online, by phone and by computer. Ted's material showed me that I can depend on the county records, what's online as far as property appraisers records, what's online as far as all the documentation around a property, that I could depend on knowing 75% of what's going on with that property without even stepping foot on it. So there's just so much more available online, and that's why we can do it successfully now from Canada. Ted really fills out the full picture. He wants you to be successful.
She did the whole thing online. So she not only made 25 back that she put in, she made another 50,000. And while she was waiting, she was getting a 40% return. Wow. That can all be done online. Now, most people are going to want to do those deals. Now, I go to the auction because I want to look for one great or two great of those big ones, because I'm going to have to spend some money fixing it up. But I figure if I could buy a $400,000 house for 150, I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but if I can, what if I spent 50 and fixed it up? It's still worth 400. That leaves me a lot of margin. Yeah. That's a lot. Now, I'm not suggesting everybody do what I do, but there are certain people looking right now and say, oh, you tell me I can make that kind of money. I am telling you that because those kind of properties are going to auction. Okay. I can't tell you what's going to be at auction, but that brochure every year. So take a place like New York. They're going to have 67 different county auctions every year. Take a place like Texas, 250. I have people buying in California for 8 cents on the dollar. In Los Angeles County, 8 cents on the dollar.
So this is amazing. So I got a bunch of other questions that I want to bring out. But the first one I have, the numbers that you've thrown around and that you've talked about, in your experience, what have you found has been the least amount of money that somebody's been able to get into a tax defaulted property for?
Oh, well, that's not fair, but I'll tell you about it and I'll show you a picture. Okay, so I've got a guy that's he's a writer and he's an editor for a newspaper in Georgia, and well, his name is BR Baker. Okay, I'll give his name, but I can't tell you where he did it. Anyway, but I'll show you a picture of it. So BR said, Ted, is this real? I said, yeah. He said, well, I've been watching these announcements in the newspaper because the county will say they're going to have an auction. So he sees it in the newspaper, like the newspaper I showed you. And so he headed down there to the auction, right? And then the next day he called me and he said, well, I went to the auction. I said, did you get anything? He said, no. And I said, well, why not? And he said, well, I didn't believe it. I said, what do you mean you didn't believe it? He said, well, I was looking at this 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. It was on about 3 acres, had a lot of fruit trees and stuff like that. And I'll put a picture of this so you see it. And all they wanted was $316. I said, is that true? And I said, is that true? And he said, yeah, they went through. He said, so I didn't believe him, so I left. I said, you got to be kidding. He said, no. He said, they were trying to auction. Nobody would bid on it. It was too cheap. I said, go back and see if we went back and they hadn't sold it. So they sold my property for under $400. Okay. Now, we used to do this stuff 30 years ago, but I haven't done this. I've never got one this cheap. Okay. So he bought the property under $400. Now, listen to what happens next. He calls me. He said, I got the property. I said, well, terrific. He said, well, what should I do with it? Now, he said, a newspaper. He didn't know what to do. I said, well, why don't you sell it? He said, I don't want to sell it. I want to buy stuff. And I said, well, what are you going to do? He said, well, should I rent it? I said, well, yeah, go ahead and rent it. He said, what should I rent it for? I said, wait a minute, I'm in Florida. I don't know what to do. He said, I said, just go around the neighborhood and ask what rental. So it turns out rental should be $700 for a 2-bedroom one. So this young kid comes in, his dad sent him, and the kid said, look, I just got married. My wife and I are both going to school. My dad gave me $6,000 I can pay in rent. That's all I got is $6,000. Will you, he didn't buy it. He said, will you rent me the house for $6,000 for the year? This guy's got $400. I'm showing you a picture of this guy. All right. So now that's bizarre. So I don't know. Look, I don't know what you're going to get a property for. Now, if I say anything other than that, but if you don't get in the game, you don't get anything.
Yeah.
If you don't get in the game, I don't know what they're going to do. But I don't look at traditional properties like that. But now he's done this more than once, by the way. He's done this more. Now he goes and looks for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't want those properties, and I don't want to rent them out. And I want to buy it, and then I want to clean it up, and I want to sell it. That's what I want to, and that's what I teach. And that's what people, when they come to the class, we'll teach them that. And they'll get to see people that do that with tax liens. They'll get to see them do it with tax deeds. They'll see people make $20,000 on a deal, and they'll see plenty of grandmothers and grandfathers making $100,000 on one deal.
Yeah, friends, this is powerful stuff. This is powerful stuff. If you're looking for another stream of income, this is something you seriously want to consider. And how you do that, how you get involved, and to learn more is Ted is offering an all-day course, an all-day class. I highly encourage you to register for that. It's normally $97. Ted has offered to do it for you, for the people that follow me, for $47. Ted, if I understand, it starts at 11 o'clock and goes until 6 o'clock. Is that correct?
Yeah, and there's a few breaks in between, but we don't leave. We continue to talk and continue to give information, so they can eat and they can drink and they do everything they want.
You do this, you do this
it's
from
virtual. It's all virtual.
Privacy of your own home, so you can make the time. I mean, Ted has talked about the possibilities and the opportunities, and as you learned in this video, is that regardless of what your interest or your comfort level is, there's something there for everybody. So Ted, thank you. We have one more session. We have one more video. If you haven't quite yet decided, we've got one more chance at this, and we've got more coming in the next video. So watch for that email for the link in the next video. Ted, thank you very much for your time, my friend.